right. Okay, Frenzynauts.
Hey.
Welcome to episode 73 of Toy Frenzy. This is exciting. We got Jukka Issakainen here, who's going to be joining us. I don't know if any of you folks out there watching know about Jukka, but you should. He and Adam are preeminent scholars of Masters of the Universe. So having two massively important scholars in here for this discussion today is just awesome. So huge thank you, Jukka, for joining us today. We've got a...
Thanks for having me. It's been a long while since I was in a podcast.
Yeah, well, we're excited. We've got a little bit of a delay. We were having a little tech difficulties at the beginning, so sorry, folks, for a little late. But we're excited about this, and we will wait patiently for those answers to come in from Jukka. Adam, Oz, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing very, very well. Been really excited for this episode for actually the last couple of weeks now, and I just want to say for everybody out there who was wondering if it was because I was doing my hair, this week I was not doing my hair. I was actually the first one here. I was early. I was here at 8 a.m. my time because I
3 hours.
3-hour difference to Skelly.
3 hours early, which was awesome. Adam and I saw our phones early this morning. We're like,
we started somehow.
I was going to hit go live all by myself because I am that excited.
Yeah.
Which would have been mid-afternoon for Jukka.
So I was gonna. So I mean, I've been on here a bunch. People know sort of my background, but for those who haven't been following Jukka, Jukka, could you maybe talk a little bit about some of the, everything that you're doing, you're done, from Attorney of Fact Files to some of your official work, well, on the cartoon, on other books. Maybe just give people kind of an idea of what you've done. MOTU wise?
Sure. So, hi, Jukka from Finland here. Born in the 80s and a huge fan of He-Man and She-Ra. Filmation was the go-to for me as a kid, though loved also the different mini-comics and dark comics and the translated Finnish versions, which actually had a little bit of the UK material, and then DC comics, all just inside one covers. So ever since I was a kid, I've always just noticed how there are different, let's say, continuities to Masters. So I always saw it as a good thing, and it didn't phase me too much that, hey, why does this happen in a book and then cartoon says a different thing? I know for some folks it can be a bit of a issue, and if they want there to be a coherent canon, but so in the early 90s, then went on to other IPs, Turtles and whatnot, and grew up just doing regular stuff as everyone does, and then forgets all the toys and puts them away, and you can't watch cartoons because you're too old. Now you're in your teenage years and whatnot, and discovered the He-Man work very early on in 99, 2000, and the He-Man and She-Ra episode review website by James Eatock and Zadok Angel, which basically started a over 20-year friendship with James, which I'm very, very fortunate. That reignited the spark for the whole fandom, and been in the online community since, best to my abilities. and along the way have been given opportunities to work on the brand in official terms. Maybe the first, maybe the first one, not paid gig, was getting to do the 2002 Finnish dub for Captain Miro, which was a freak accident, if you will, and then helped with the comic adaptation on episode 40, which was packaged with the DVD from BCI, and the recent ones have been, of course, books on the mini comic collection, where I did research and trivia, little footnotes for anyone reading them, hopefully enjoying them as well. And then others contributed some little bits in the newspaper collection, and then the compendium character guide and its follow-up book, written and done research there, and also got to help on Arco Studios board games, the Fields of Eternia and Battleground, and some of the new editions that they are working on. There's some fun stuff coming from them, so be on the lookout. I think they now got the worldwide distribution available, so more people can get those board games if that's your jam. And been running all sorts of internet blogs along the way for the Mattel and DC comics when they did in the 2012 that run. I had my own He-Man Eternity War blog where I just had some interviews with the people like Rob David and Gabriel De La Torre and the artist Pop Man and all that. So I've been doing interviews with people who has been working on the projects, and the 2002 especially was just something that is very close to my heart, the cartoon and the comics. So I have a blog for that too at the time, and did many interviews for that on the voice actors, writer, director, and all sorts of storyboard artists, and just soaked up as much information as I can, and hopefully sharing them along the way with other fans as well. Currently doing articles for Battle Ram blog, and always nitpicking on Adam's articles where he just constantly makes mistakes. And I have my own YouTube channel, MOTU Jukka, the name tag there, where I have just He-Man and She-Ra videos about origins, histories, anything that interests me, but also anything that I can research. And the Eternia Fact Files is the segment I'm calling for past couple of years, that I take some subjects that I have seen people ask a lot of questions for casual fans, or even some hardcore fans that they are interested. And if I can find some prototype information or concept art, or get in touch with the creator on certain subject, then I will always try to cite my sources on those. And with the Revelation and Revolution, I'm in sort of working, not like Mattel helps me. I don't work for them, but they are very generous, that have been able to share official reveals on some even model images, inside information, and there will be more videos on those topics as well coming in the future when I have time. So I think that covers most of it. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been following your contributions to Masters of the Universe for quite a while, and so it's really nice to finally be able to talk to you, have you on the show, have you on the channel, and I'm really excited to talk about the thing that you said that's really important is that, I mean, all of that's important, but what you just mentioned that people sometimes have a problem with the multiple storylines in Masters of the Universe, and how I like how you said you have an appreciation for those multiple storylines, because and I do too, because you know, one of the defining factors of Masters of the Universe is the inherent uh, um, creativity, that, you know, as kids playing with the toys and watching the cartoons, there was enough left out that we could create our own storylines, and any good IP has multiple versions of itself. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're going to be talking about that today, because there's quite a bit of that in Revolution. So yeah, Jukka, thank you so much for being here, man. It's huge. We're excited. And also, we have a bunch of images. So Jukka is very was very careful to create a bunch of slides that follow important aspects of the Revolution storyline, and I was able to create a little slideshow showing about 101 or 2 images from those slides. So we have some images to take us through the conversation. But first, guys, what was your initial impression of Revolution? Let's talk a little bit about that. Just like first impressions watching, you know, after having watched all 5 episodes.
I'll start. So about a week before it dropped, I watched Revelation start to finish, just because I realized like there's a lot I didn't remember. So I had to go through it, make sure I'm refreshed on the first story. Second story, it's much more. They don't. Well, one thing is because there's only 5 episodes and they go through a whole arc, whole story. I feel like it's a bit faster. They can't take as much time to build things out. So so things like overall positive. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel its length, like each episode flew by. There were some things like I wish we could have had more time on, like the Horde. You get some sense for sure that they're a threat, but I wanted that to be explored more. Like I wanted to see more like the evil Horde oppressing Eternians, and just kind of showing just how dire the situation was. But I realize it's 5 episodes. They got to kind of move quickly through that. But yeah, I mean, not everything. Obviously, the Keldor thing was the big surprise. After the groundwork laid for the expectation that Skeletor this time he's a demon from another dimension, and then finding out that he's actually really is Keldor. But it's not the same Keldor backstory exactly. Just the way the origin of becoming Skeletor isn't quite the same. Which again didn't bother me. You could have mentioned the multiple storylines. If you've been around the block long enough, even if it bothered you before, I feel like if you've been a fan long enough, you just kind of accept, okay, every reboot is going to have something different. It's never going to be exactly the same as whatever your original preferred canon is. But I enjoyed it a lot. It was really good.
I'm making a comment here. We are going to be spoiling Revolution in today's episode, folks. So
sorry.
Heads up.
Spoilers.
It's for me. It's early in the morning. I had a whole plan, like I was gonna talk about how we're going to be spoiling it and all this stuff. All that went out the window. No, don't apologize, folks. If you haven't watched Revolution, you should probably leave this live stream and come back and watch it later on. But you know what? To be honest with you, it launched on Thursday, right? And Masters of the Universe fans are like are ravenous, right? So I'm assuming there's a like 95% chance that everybody watching right now has watched Revolution, especially since the amount of people watching is very visible on the Netflix numbers, right? So I'm assuming lots of folks have watched it.
I agree. And speaking moistly is even just saying here that he just finished watching it. So perfect.
Good.
So before I get to my thoughts, because we got quite a few people watching, I did want to try to give shout outs to everybody real quick here.
Sure. Yes.
We got JMax77 hanging out with us, eating some cereal, and got his footy jammies on for ready for Saturday morning MOTU. And I love that. That is amazing. Thank you, JMax.
Fantastic.
All right. And MOTU Origins Cork, David is here hanging out with us. Good to have you, brother. Thank you for being able to make the stream. Yeah. You know, we purposely scheduled this within your time frame, so that way you can
That's right.
It's just for you, buddy. We've got Chef Matey or Chef M80 here with us hanging out. Good to see you. Thanos Copter is hanging with us. Rick yelling, "Wake up, Oz," because I was just up late last night on Geek the F Out channel. We were talking episode 1. So hard to contain myself because I was dying for this conversation that we're going to have today. Spoiling the whole thing. K-Roll here with us. We got Ray Black, Emerald Knife Photos, figuratively speaking, John and John right here with us. Payne's Toy Samples here, and Nolan, which means you know it. We are officially Toy Tube. And speaking moistly. All right. So now, we've got some more people coming in here now as I'm rolling through. Nathan Cummins saying, "I was waiting for Granomir." That would have been so great if they just tossed that in there, or like maybe if they had like a piece of Skytree hanging out in the back somewhere. So yes, folks, we're totally going to be spoiling everything.
Yeah.
So sorry if you haven't watched it yet. If you want to hang out, you're welcome to, but just know we're going to ruin this for you.
Yeah, we are. We're going to ruin it for you. And yes, Vicente, morning is the vitamin of life for sure. I love mornings, so it's kind of nice to be talking Masters of the Universe in the morning hours. Whoa, David, thanks so much, man. That's fantastic.
You know, when we started this show, there was no monetization, so we never had super chats or anything like that. David, thank you. That's absolutely amazing. It's great to see when we do these lives there are super chats. Like, to think of how far the show has grown, that is something that happens here.
That's gonna yes, yeah. That's gonna really help, actually, David, because we're all out of Toy Frenzy stickers as of this past week. So this is the last one that I have, and so that'll definitely help us get some more Toy Frenzy stickers available to folks. So thank you, David. And Yuka will send you your percentage. Are
we sending stickers, eh? Let's see what we have here. Let's try.
Ooh, here, let me make. There we go. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's got the hollow foil. Oh,
nice.
I dig it.
That's cool. Well, guys, I'm just going to tell you my opinion, and then Yuka, I'd love to hear your opinion of the whole show. Wait, Oz, did you did you talk
didn't
about
do
your
it yet.
opinion yet? Oh yeah.
No, not yet. I just kind of said hello to the chat, and
Yes.
what can I say? I was completely blown away here. I know we did an episode a couple of weeks ago where we just kind of talked about speculation of what we thought was going to happen in this. I was glad to see where we were right on certain things, and it was glad to see that they did some things differently and gave us a little twist. I mean, it is just, I gotta say, I was hyped for Revelation, really, really hyped for Revelation. I was really hyped for CGI. I'm always hyped whenever there is new Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
You know, it gives us new conversations that we can have about new things that are happening. And as blown away as I was with everything that happened in Revelation, hearing that Revolution was only going to get 5 episodes, I was really worried about the pacing and the story they were going to be able to tell with just a short episode count. But they managed to pull it off perfectly and leave us to a point where we're still wanting so much more.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm of the same opinion. I felt like well, first of all, I was really nervous about how the fans would react to another chapter, to this version of Masters of the Universe. The fans of Masters of the Universe, after Revelation, sort of had me feeling on edge about how the bunch of us might react to a new chapter. So I was a little worried about people. Less worried about the show, in fact, because the more I've watched Revelation, Revelation, I've appreciated it in a variety of ways. But I'm also one of those people that liked it from the beginning. I had my feelings about certain aspects, but I love a new version of a familiar story. I'm always the type of person that's okay with that. But Revolution, my only complaint is similar to Adam's, which is I would have liked to have seen more of the Horde. I would have liked to have seen more of a showcase of you know of Grizzlor and Mantenna and Leech. But what they did give us was really good. And the way that they tied in those varying storylines was really smart. I have to say, I was impressed by the way that they handled a good portion of our expectations. I feel like there's the faction of people who want Skeletor to be a demon from Despondos, the portion of people who want to see She-Ra, a portion of people that want Skeletor to be Keldor, a portion of people that wanted more He-Man action, people that wanted to see battle armor, people who love the CGI show. I mean, with the emblem. I mean, that they brought everything into this in a really smart way, and
Yeah.
And
Well,
it felt. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to throw it. There was even like little other nods to more of the CGI stuff within this too, right? Like them talking about Havoc. That's not something that's really been mentioned in any other canon before about the power of Havoc. So it was really nice to have that nod in here too.
Yeah. Impressive storytelling. And for a lot of us, I mean, I'm speaking for myself only, but I feel like for a lot of us, this is the way to do it. This is what we want to see in Masters. We want to see these storylines come together and want it to be, we can call it fan service if we want, but this kind of action in storytelling, in acknowledging what people want to see, this is proof that it's successful to approach these IPs in this way. I think I have a theory that it's been the plan all along to throw people off track in the first part and challenge people's ideas of these stories, and challenge their expectations, and then subvert that and show us that it's like it's everything we ever wanted it to be to begin with. That's my theory. Jukka, what's your take on the 5 episodes of Revolution?
Well, I may need to dip in a bit on Revelation as well, because it's all one big thing at this point, and sort of same lines as you, that when Revelation came out, I mean, it's the story is what it is. It has some parts that I don't like and some parts that I do like, and I sort of looking back on it, like at this point, now that we have season 2, and having that bit of hindsight, it sadly, the whole internet people and all the false information surrounding it is what kind of sadly did affect the whole viewing experience with Revelation. And I mean, it's the people are trying to tell a story, and if you have had chance to look at the Kevin Smith on YouTube, where he does the writer commentary with the different writers, Dia and Tim and all those guys, shout out to Tim Sheridan, that you can hear in their voice when they're just talking back and forth in front of camera, like what was their thought process in the writer's room. And I really hope that there would be more of those, either in the whatever physical form Mill Creek will release the Revelation, hopefully this year. But I sort of doubted that they would make more. But sadly, it requires that you do need some inside info on to some degree, or you need to have that, because it helps understand some of the logic in what they're trying to do. And yes, the many things is that they are telling a new story, and many things which fans know from previous media, Subternia, for example, they think of it as one thing. Oh, it's the underground, like caverns under just the core Onitaria, and you have like running around there, and then Spillians and Caligars. But Revolution used it in a completely new context, and it's like, okay, I get that you're trying to do it in a different way. It's very subjective if it works or not, and I did sometimes wonder when fans were just going about it that, oh, these people, they don't know anything, they can't even get Subternia right. Like, how can they mess up such a simple thing? And at this point, it's so clear that they are just doing their own new thing. So whatever you know from the previous media stories, from comics, books, magazines, whatever, UK comics, German comics, wherever, it may show up. It may have the same name, but it may just be completely something different in the episode that you will be watching. And for me, it actually sends my brain in a bit of a twist, because I try to remember all those things, that where did this originate, what was the original purpose, what was the original context, and then it's completely something new, and I'm like, okay, I need to sit down for a bit, like, oh my god, it's something else here. And when it would, like, for someone who doesn't know all the references, it's hopefully easier to just enjoy the ride, because they will hopefully try to explain whatever the new context that they have. That, well, this is Saturnia, and oh, here's a rhyme by Orko about it, and it's the basically kingdom for Scareglow and all that stuff. So it's fascinating to see new media in the sense that you get something new, and obviously the brand does need to go forward one way or another. So the CGI show, they toyed with the whole scepter and sword, choose these themes, and obviously, well, it's the same people, Rob David and all those guys, executive producers. So there's gonna be some overlap possibly where they are pulling ideas from whatever they already have. And the Eternity War comics is one example that it can give you some inkling that, okay, we've seen something similar, but again, it's going to be something completely different. And so I hope people could appreciate that there is maybe some nods to older materials, but then at the same time, you kind of need to find that method on how to take it as a new story and wherever it goes.
Yeah.
So it's well, like comments, people are mentioning Havoc as a thing, a god entity, or the fourth tower, and all that new lore, basically. I mean, not sure how many remember the DC comics that did the really funky bit of Skeletor's own head being the skull in the Havoc staff. Like, there are many versions to go around, and yes, we have Keldor here, but they are taking it in a different direction to some degree. And on the topic of Keldor, if I show my age, that when the early internet times on He-Man.org and such, like 99, 2000, that's when we learned through an interview with one of the creators on those like vintage mini comics that, yeah, there was at the very last minute the concept of that Keldor is Skeletor, and they had ideas that, okay, unnamed one would be someone who had something to do with Keldor becoming Skeletor. But that was a time when we didn't know anything else. So I remember people doing fan art where you have a basically Caucasian looking Keldor in a Skeletor hood and all that stuff. By, I think it was Mando or Maestro Monstoid who did the art. And like that was, for a brief moment in time, that was what the fandom and fans like were going with. Then 2002 cartoon came along, and well, one of the producers, Ian Richter, had seen the interview online, and he was the one who decided that, hey, would be cool if we actually made that into something official. So 2002 gets the credit of the blue-skinned Keldor who becomes Skeletor. Now, they never get to say anything on screen that is he the older brother, or does he have any claim on the throne and all that stuff. Like, there's no mention in the series Bible or any scripts that he would be a Gar, which is basically a later fan coined term when people saw the episode And What Gar with Cyclone. And well, that's a whole can of worms on its own, because Cyclone was the last defender, according to head writer Dean Steffen. he wasn't from Anwadgar. But it's one of those, like, fans took it one way, they started talking about it, and it formed along the years. And then we have current day, and I think most are thinking that, yes, Cyclone is like native to Anwadgar, and everyone coming from there are of the Gar. So it's one of those things.
I thought I do remember in the DVD commentary from the 2000X series, and like the very first episode, when they were giving the commentary about Keldor's origin, they did confirm there that he was a Gar. Maybe I'm misremembering that now and adding other stuff, but I thought that was in the commentary from that first episode.
Yeah, the creators have used the term after all of that. Well, the DVDs came like in 2008, so
that's
all
true.
of that
They
would
did
be
release
after,
quite later.
After it was all said and done. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but if we like I'm doing, like, trying to strictly look into whatever material they had at the time and what is official, then yeah, there's like the earliest mention of a Gar on the forums I ever found is in like 2004. So it's like,
yeah,
I think it's something that fans sort of coined, but maybe something will turn up at one point and that there was a plan or was a mention of it, but haven't found anything so far. But it's one of those things that how the ideas curiously can evolve in the fandom, and they become theories, and when something gets said enough times, then suddenly it becomes a fact. So
yeah,
it's one of the reasons why I did the one episode on Eternia Fact Files, which actually was Eternia fan theories, and Rob McCallum was very kind to do the audio for that one. So I took like some of the fan theories that I've seen online and wanted to go over them. So it's like some have become canon, like the Sharella and the visual from the vintage like box art. But it's they can, interestingly, they can, through fans, have a life of their own, and it's kind of cool at times that the creators were, or the people officially working were, acknowledging it or taking note that people keep saying that this is a thing, so let's put it in one of these mini comics, or let's put it in a card back bio or whatever, packaging art or something. So
I think that's such a unique aspect of Masters of the Universe, that the company, or that the powers that be think about what the fans have contributed to the lore, and acknowledge it sometimes. I think it's really cool. I'm going to go ahead and open up your slides here, because we have some really exciting images that are going to definitely spark conversation. First, I want to say, folks, head over to Scrolls of Eternia. You can find Jukka's Scrolls of Eternia over on Facebook, and then also, as we mentioned earlier, Jukka has a YouTube channel. And the links to both of those pages are right down below this video. So definitely go over there and have a look at that stuff. But we're going to start off here, which I think is exciting, Jukka, that you sent over these images of this integral scene between young Randor and young Keldor. I'm just going to, I'm skipping ahead to this one because right from the beginning, Keldor is like the bad influence, right? I kind of love this. Like here's his like here's his little flask down here in his desk. But yeah, this is great. So what did you guys think about this scene, seeing the relationship between these two characters?
One of the big things for me, I just want to notice, is that Prince Adam's clothes are really, really old because we see Randor wearing them here.
I like that it's a uniform for the prince has a uniform. I thought that was a really cool concept. But the problem is Keldor's not in that same outfit, which would be confusing. If Randor's wearing this outfit that Prince Adam wears later on, why wouldn't Keldor be in a similar outfit? But that's a whole other bag of worms, I guess. But I really like.
Yeah, and at this point we don't know yet. I mean, we kind of know, but you don't know yet that Keldor, especially like if you come into this not knowing anything, like okay, Keldor is a nice guy. He's he's heroic, and there's nothing. At this point, that's kind of tipping you off, unless you're already a fan that this is Keldor's evil. He's just mischievous.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this is first time that we see a young Randor in animation. In the DC comics, there was the origin of Skeletor, where we did get to see young Keldor and young Randor talking with King Miro. But I think in animation, this might be the first time we get a young Randor at this age, not a flashback of when he's finding Queen Marlena on the spaceship crash.
Yep. I love it. I love seeing these kids I love that their relationship dynamic is solid. Like, I mean, it feels like they're true siblings here. And it doesn't feel like there's like they see each other on the same level. It doesn't feel like there's a difference between them, even though they are different.
Yeah, I like that they touched on the fact that Randor never saw his brother as anything but his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no difference to him where he was from, what his lineage is, anything like that. It was just, period. This is my older brother, and he thought the world of him,
Yeah.
Like they bring that up and mention it, and I think that's really, really a powerful statement right there.
So, what do you guys think about the fact that these two boys have a very strong relationship as children, but once Keldor is separated from the family, it seems like Randor doesn't really mention him until his deathbed, because Adam and Marlena both seem like that they're not thinking about Keldor. And that's the only thing that was a little bit confusing to me in Revolution, was that if Randor had such a strong bond to his brother as a child, why wouldn't he be thinking about or mentioning him later on? We know that Keldor's memory was erased by Hordak, but Randor's memory wasn't erased. There's no evidence of that,
Yeah, I think just the fact that they wanted this to be a surprise for this season, but it would have been nice to have something, or even like if Keldor had come just before Randor died, so there could be some kind of interaction between them as adults, just to get some sense of how Randor feels about Keldor as as an adult.
Indeed.
Well, there's the prequel comic miniseries coming in May, so I believe we'll get some more of the
Yeah.
like young Randor and Keldor bits in there. Might be also flashbacks, but hopefully a bit more meat on the bones there.
Yeah, I believe so. I like that they use the comics to sort of fill out some of the mysteries or answer some of the questions that we might have. But at the same time, I haven't been a huge fan of the way the comics have played out, the stories have played out. But I'm hoping that they do sort of answer that question, because if my dad suddenly said that I had an uncle on his deathbed, I would be, what? Your brother? What are you talking about? And Adam's not reacting in that way, you know? So yeah, it's there. I'm hoping that there's a kind of explanation there.
Well, I mean, for Adam and Marlena, it could be something simple as I lost a brother, which could be on like during childbirth.
Yeah,
I was meant to have a brother, but he died, and in that scene where they have the bit of a seed before the end of the episode 1, it's a good line to throw in there, so you're preparing the audience for it.
These
Close-ups
two don't.
of faces.
Yeah, they're not getting along in this conversation, which is great. You know, and this difficult situation, I really felt the weight of this difficult situation. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of feelings that the king would be having in this, if you're in this kind of a situation.
Also, shout out to Daniel Galerte for naming Queen Amelia for Miro.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. You know, Miro's got he's very bald on the top of his head, and Randor and Adam, neither one of them showing any genetic propensity for baldness, you know.
Well, it's just a flesh covered cap, you know. It was the look of the day. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
As a bald guy, you actually get that from your mother's side. So if your mom's dad is bald, that's how it comes.
Yeah, the genetic lineage passes from the female side of the family.
I like that. I can almost
add to Adam's words.
Yeah.
It's not all choice.
It is correct on the voices, yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is cool.
Oh, that's great. Hey, quick question: Does any
made the video about Elena and tried hinting that Harley Quinn Smith would have a role, but would not be Elena? So here you go.
Yeah,
this was her role.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's cool. It's particularly cool that Tim Sheridan is Miro. I mean, that's really awesome. You know, I'm wondering, does anybody know, this is sort of off subject, but that's okay. Does anybody know who voiced, who made the sounds for Mantenna and because Mantenna makes a few like sounds, and I'm hoping that it's somebody that's involved in the show in some way.
Furiously Googling.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to Google too much because I'm using my other screen as a really bright light to light up my face a little bit more.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad we can see your face finally.
It took me a minute to actually get the brightness adjusted and then have just a full white screen to my left, because what I do, I light in my eyes do not get along, so it's actually kind of painful, but I can manage.
Well, it's good to see your face, Oz.
Thank
You were the faceless one before. So I like this. I like that we see this switch between, this scene having the roles switched here, and I love that Shatner played the voice of Keldor. He really added a lot of authority to the voice. If Keldor sounded like Skeletor, that would have been weird to me. And so I'm glad that they went with a different voice. And what a cool surprise
he
that
nailed
was.
it too. He did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
I thought.
It's got to be one of Shatner's best roles because, we were talking about it last night. Like, he didn't really Shatner it up, right? And what I mean that is the overly dramatic, everything. And yet we see a change through the season, right? Because when we get to the later parts where it's Keldor speaking from Skeletor, right? Like when that portion of it happens and he's like as Skeletor, but he has Keldor's voice, it changes. And you get some of that over dramatization now with the voice, because that's what Skeletor is. Skeletor is very in for the theatrics and being a drama queen in a lot of ways.
That's actually. Go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, I feel like Shatner really explored a variety of emotions that I'm not used to seeing William Shatner do as an actor, let alone a voice actor. I mean, he really brought it. There were times where he sounds youthful and hopeful and sneaky and authoritative. He's covering all kinds of bases. What a complicated character to play. And he could have just played it with very little effort, and it would have just sounded like Shatner. But he really brought it. I was very impressed by his acting in this.
Yeah,
and that came out as Two-Face.
Two-Face. Which series?
Direct to DVD Batman, which was based on the '60s TV show. They made two of them, and in the latter one, they brought Two-Face, as I recall, and Shatner did a pretty good Harvey Dent / Two-Face.
That's cool. Well, awesome. Shatner's continuously impressive, man.
I enjoyed his voice, but then it kind of the dichotomy between him and Skeletor sort of brought up for me a pet peeve about the series, which I don't think many people will share. It's probably just me, but I've felt for a while that like I love Mark Hamill, but I think his voice in this as Skeletor is just too cartoony and over the top for me. Just especially if you compare it to all the other voice actors who are a little more grounded. And he's just so kind of operatic and theatrical, and it doesn't land for me personally. I know a lot of people like it.
And you're meaning like in this version, right?
Yeah. Well, in Revelation and Revolution, I just like the voice is too over the top. I feel like the 2002 voice, like if you want like a modern take on classic Skeletor, that's like rides the exact amount, the line between like maybe too gruff or too silly, and that's kind of right in the middle. But this one, it doesn't
Brian Dobson
work for me. Yeah, Brian Dobson.
Yeah, I feel like the actor who played Skeletor in the CGI show did a really great job. And I'm a fan of Mark Hamill for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I loved his Joker, and I love him as Luke Skywalker, and I even love him as old man Luke. But I'm with you, Adam. Like there are times where Skeletor just felt, if you grew up watching Batman the Animated Series, you're used to hearing that Joker's voice in the back of your mind, it's hard to not hear that in this Skeletor, and that's a bit problematic. But when it comes down to it, I accept it. I mean, Oppenheimer's. Alan Oppenheimer. Why am I doubting that? It is Oppenheimer, right?
Yes, you're good, Skelly.
Why am I doubting that? Oh, because of the movie. That's why.
The movie Oppenheimer that came out is not about him.
It's not about
spoiler alert, folks. If you go to that thinking it's going to be all about his voice acting work, you're going to be seriously let down.
I mean, you can't really top Alan Oppenheimer. But that's in my opinion, an equally cartoony version. It is what it is. I like that. If Hamill voiced Keldor, that would have been really problematic.
That would have been dead giveaway.
Yes. I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Right. And just to go off with that too, like I really see, and I never really looked at it that way with what Adam's saying is for Revelation and Revolution, that everybody else feels like they've matured in some way, right? Like we've got the campy jokes and the one-liners and the zingers that were all known, of course, from how we really, remember the Filmation cartoon, but there's less of it, and the way they do it's in like this more mature manner, not necessarily just as, I don't want to say blatant, but continuous, I think is a better way to phrase that. Whereas it seems like they tried to keep that version of Skeletor in this more mature version of the series. So in that respect, it doesn't really fit as much, and I can kind of see it because there was always something that put me off on it, and everybody was just always mentioning, of course, that, well, it's because he's the Joker. It's because he's the Joker. It's like, it's a similar voice to the Joker, but it is not the Joker, right? Like he is definitely a different character, although the voice is similar. And we touched on it last night. Lucha Johnny brought up the fact that certain aspects of the voice acting throughout this seem lazy. And at first I was kind of wondering what he meant by that, because one of the things I really like about this series is just how good the voice acting is. But it's like handpicking a premium talent, right? And everybody who's voice acting in this is a premium talent here when it comes to the voice acting roles. But it's also the fact that if you go back to Filmation, when Skeletor talks, there is a kind of an echoey reverb, like it's going through bone, right? Because he doesn't have any soft tissue parts in there. Makes it really weird how he can speak at all, but we're in a land of magic, so we'll take it. But there's no echoiness or hollowness to it like we got in Filmation. And you even still had that in the 2000X version too, right? Like we don't get that necessarily with this version of Skeletor, which again, like those small attention to detail in older versions of the media, when we have a newer, bigger budget of media, does feel a little lazy. Like, well, couldn't you have thrown a couple more bucks in there to add a little extra to that? I'm not saying you got to auto-tune everybody, because I think auto-tune that
would be funny
for using some kind of effects to voices and such. But it would be nice to see them explore that a little bit more. Like, I think we could have gotten it. We got a little bit of it with Meg Foster as Motherboard, like where she had almost this kind of mechanical sound to her voice. But like even in like Transformers back in the day, right? Like they added effects to certain Transformers voices to make them sound more robotic. And that is something that is a little lacking here that I think they could have used again, because they do pay attention to so many other small details that it really seems a missed opportunity to leave that one out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some somebody has like a skull effect that could have been used to make the voice sound like it's going through bone. But it's funny that you're thinking about that, and I didn't even think about that there is a kind of effect applied to Alan Oppenheimer's voice in the Filmation cartoon. There's a slight effect there, but honestly, like, I accept it. I accept this. I accept Hamill's voice, and I think adding Shatner to complicate the voice was a really smart decision.
Definitely.
And Yuka, you shared these slides as well, and I wanted to. This is also something that I wanted to bring up too. A similar issue that I have with Randor not remembering his brother. This is also something I hope is explained in the comic books that are coming out. How no one really thinks about or mentions the kidnapping of the twin sister that's happening in this scene.
Well, that's one thing that I noticed not a lot of people have mentioned really overall about this scene, because it is just a brief flashback, and it's not so much a blink and you'll miss it, but this is how Skeletor ends up really back on Eternia, right?
Mhm.
Like, he gets captured by the Royal Guards when they show up. And that is Hordak and Skeletor going to steal twins, because you see one crib is perfectly fine on its own in the background in the one image. The other one is spilled over. You see like a little Cringer stuffed animal here, and
is it a stuffed animal or is it a kitten?
It's to me, it's looking like
animal.
Hobbs.
Look at the eyes.
Yeah, it's so cute.
It's adorable, and I want one. But Danny Phillips pointed out a little earlier this morning, if anybody noticed Swiftwind, and you see in two separate parts of this frame that there are unicorns in here. Like, it's totally calling to the Adora and She-Ra moment.
Yeah.
There's also Strider toys, so there's just toys all around.
There is.
Different frames.
There is. But I really, really do enjoy that they are putting this in here, because this is one of those Skeletor unlocked memories that we kind of
do the Leonardo DiCaprio thing, like, look, Strider.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the, we were talking before about Randor and Keldor relationship. If the one thing I didn't think about, so if we're seeing Keldor here, that could be why he never mentions Randor.
Skeletor.
I don't know. Yeah, we don't see exactly what Keldor, or is he Skeletor at this point? Does he have the face?
Yeah, that's Skeletor here.
Yes,
okay,
it's Skeletor. So Randor wouldn't make any connection at
he
that
wouldn't.
He
right.
saw Keldor like when he was just a young boy and then took away.
Gotcha.
Even if there's like no spell of forgetfulness, then this is in that sense still plausible. That there's there wouldn't Hordak and this weird skull-faced blue guy with him.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what else I enjoy about that too, right, is like, this to me kind of feels like, again, Hordak clearly has been planning to take over Eternos Palace and come to Eternia and rule over it for some time, to the point where he takes a young Keldor as one possible means to the throne, and then taking a young Adora as yet, okay, here's another way to the throne, like whatever his plots are. And there's also a line later too that Skeletor throws at him saying, you always needed an acolyte to use magic, because this Hordak is really like, from previous lore, Hordak was always like, he used magic and then he favored technology and started to lean more that way. Whereas this Hordak's like, yeah, magic, forget that crap. Technology is all what it's about. But maybe there's something more to that we haven't seen that we'll get in the, again, within the prequel comics.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I feel like Skeletor. I know this scene plays out in about like 3 seconds, right? I mean, it's so quick. But
and there's
I feel
so
like
much to it.
There's so much happening here. Like Skeletor is why is Skeletor caught? Is he? I mean, I understand probably that Hordak's like taking Skeletor maybe as a distraction, and just leaves him behind. Is Skeletor feeling? I feel like this. Got to hand it to Powerhouse Animation, because the animation on this face, or the way they rendered Skeletor's face here, I can't tell what he's feeling here. It almost looks like he's conflicted. Is he disappointed that Hordak is ditching him? Like, I can't tell what his emotional state is in this scene, and I kind of love that. Oh yeah, Yuka said there's a connection hiccup. He'll be right back.
Good.
Yeah.
So, and again, like talking with this, I don't feel we ever quite got enough. Like, they explain a lot, and then of course they explain a lot of it without really exploring it. And I wanted to see more of Keldor truly becoming Skeletor, and that relationship with Hordak. Like Adam said, like in the beginning, it seems like maybe he doesn't necessarily really want the throne. So how does it get to this point where, because before Hordak has even had him embrace this power of havoc and become Skeletor, he's already seemed to implement this idea that it is his right, that he should have it. And, but I think this kind of plays into that, like you were mentioning about the emotion of what's going on here, is that I really feel that it's playing on that in some way. But again, that would date back to then Skeletor still remembering he is Keldor in some ways, right? Like,
yeah,
plays upon those levels of abandonment that his father cast him out and pushed him away, kind of thing. That's why he sent you back to Gar. So, things of like that. And then that disappointed look he kind of has right there, even though it's just bones, looking at Hordak being like, well, you've raised me, you've trained me, like, now you're leaving me and ditching me and casting me aside. So maybe even if it's something that's not as prominent as him remembering he was Keldor, like, PTSD and trauma happens in all ways. And I think maybe there was some residual PTSD of abandonment there that was just coming to the surface.
Yeah, for sure. I liked that. I liked the way that the emotions are animated in these scenes. And now we're in the flashback sequence. And I gotta say, I love that the glitchiness to these flashback sequences.
Oh yes.
That it's caused by the sort of the breaking of the technology in Skeletor's techno skull. It's causing him to have these flashbacks, and you can see the pixelation or the glitchiness to these flashbacks, which I found very convincing, actually, surprisingly convincing. But I'm kind of running through these slides to get to this conflict between Keldor and Hordak at the Fright Zone, which is one of my favorite moments in Revolution. Being able to see the Fright Zone. Look at that. I mean, that just made me that made me so happy.
That's awesome.
Seeing that, yeah,
When we had speculated about this, I'm glad to see it was right. Like, it was a dead call that they were at the Fright Zone training. There was a lot of stuff too, right? Like, again, that idea that, okay, I'd mentioned maybe Keldor and Skeletor, two different characters this time around, but then it was a very much no, we were right. We called it, Hordak definitely removed or shielded parts of his memory so that he believed the origin story we got from Revelation. And that was great to me.
yeah. So Brick Something is asking an interesting question
could be
here.
part of the curse when he touched the staff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know
Because
if
it's one of those that he used a magic wielder on his side, because going back on it, I mean, Hordak doesn't want the throne. He's after Grayskull. And it may or may not harken back to the DC Comics, where he was after everyone's blood, like Keldor's blood, Randor's blood, then Adora, and then Adam, and then that didn't work, and then he needed He-Man's blood after Adam had transformed, so he could enter the Forge. So here, there might be some parts of that, but it may not be such a blood-tied thing that he needs.
Right. That makes sense. The artwork here is just beautiful. This is, I mean,
it goes back to that William George box art too.
Yes, it's so good. So seeing the Fright Zone in these images, this the play set being honored here in animation, I didn't know how. I could not predict that this would give me such good feelings. It was really an interesting moment. I wasn't sure how I would feel about seeing the toy, the play set on the screen, but it made me feel really good. It just did something special to me.
As I've said, this is like one of my all-time favorite play sets. Even though it was small, it was just packed full of fun, play features. It had all these creepy, spooky elements to it. I loved this play set as a kid. It was great to finally see this version of the Fright Zone in animation.
Yeah. To me, the Fright Zone is like the second best play set. I like it better than Snake Mountain, better than Eternia. It's just, I love the creepy Halloween elements of it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Like, I always played it as like kind of a backup to Snake Mountain, right? Because we've all heard how I didn't really care that there wasn't a lot going inside of Snake Mountain, whereas this was just, again, packed full of those play features. So this was more of like my play area of kind of like this, almost like a training and dungeon area of my Snake Mountain.
Now, I think Masterverse could be the first play set that Masterverse puts out. It wouldn't have to be huge, but it could be. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it. I'd rather see this play set in Masterverse than in Origins, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that would work for every. Actually, if it's Masterverse scale, it would work for Origins. It would work for Classics. It would work for every Toyland that's been out.
Exactly. I think I would rather see. I mean, I'd love to see a Masterverse
that would be better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd love to see a Masterverse Grayskull, but it would have to be a new Eternia Grayskull as opposed to a Revolution or Revelation Grayskull. I'm not. I mean, I think it's beautiful in Revolution, but I'd rather see a new Eternia one. Or the Hordak Grayskull would be cool too.
that was a pretty cool design. I don't know if I would buy it, but I I have to admit, it's a cool looking Great Skull.
Can we talk about that for a minute, right?
Yeah,
not
of course.
only did Castle Grayskull get a techno revamp that was kind of spoiled a bit by the poster, but Snake Mountain, like, okay, we'd seen
that's true.
scenes of Snake Mountain or the outside of Snake Mountain after the techno cult invaded it in Revelation, but we never saw all of Snake Mountain in Revelation. So seeing that techno Snake Mountain for Revolution was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I really love that. Now I want to commission Skelly to build me a techno Snake Mountain. With like a screech head coming out the side as opposed to our usual Muppet face.
I've already gotten some questions, people asking if I would be interested in doing the Hordak Grayskull, and not that they're sending me deposits or anything like that. Not that those questions are that serious, but I think that if I were to build something from Revolution, I would be really tempted to do either one of those play sets. With the facelift, but it's cool stuff, man. Everything has to be in Origins. That's funny. So this dynamic between Hordak and Keldor was integral, I think. Seeing what a cruel father figure Hordak is to Skeletor makes me really think about the impact of, and I think it was Brick something that mentioned earlier, the impact of trauma, how people who have been hurt people end up hurting people. That's right. Thank you, Oz. And this scene between them really establishes that quite well.
So just a little missed opportunity again here, I thought, was that, and again, we kind of saw it with the trailer that he wasn't. So, we've all tossed around whether it's a shield or a minion that the figure comes with on his arm, and some people go either way with it. I kind of wish this little techno shield he did was like that, that horde shield, that horde symbol that the figure gets.
That's true.
But I love the fact that they didn't include kind of a fan-made design of what a Hordak sword would look like.
Yeah, that's kind of the bat wing ends of the blade. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to say
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, how good is Keith David as Hordak? Because I love his voice. Good. He's got the best voice.
Yeah.
I've loved him as Spawn. Because I just felt he fit that role perfectly. And again, kind of the way some people feel about how Skeletor and Mark Hamill as Skeletor sounds just like Joker. I did keep hearing Spawn, but Hordak is a very dark, heavy character in a lot of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what better voice to put for that than how he was? Like, I'm sorry, he was just good.
Yeah. Now Keith David's awesome. I just want to point out quickly while I'm thinking about it is the same when Skeletor, spoiler alert, people, when Skeletor stabs Hordak, the sword that emerges from the Havoc staff is the same design as this Hordak sword. Do you guys recall that? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep.
Which I think is fascinating.
It was very intentional with that.
Yeah. I kind of want to see a Hordak action figure come with this translucent red sword and shield. That would be very cool.
Yeah. And
Yes.
give him a baby Adora to boot.
Yes,
a
baby
baby-
stealing Hordak.
Yeah.
Deluxe Skeletor. Or
Deluxe kidnapping Hordak. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Get the crate caper 2-pack Skeletor and Hordak.
Great caper. That's amazing.
Oh no!
Oh,
Here
man.
it is. It's a deluxe set, but it's like got artifacts from the bedroom, the child's bedroom. So it's got like the little Cringer toy. It's got the Castle
Yes.
Grayskull, the
Yes,
the
give me
little
the-
unicorn, the Swiftwind toy.
The abduction playset. Yeah. that would
Yeah, exactly.
be- I thought I really like the. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I like the concept of Havoc being the transforming entity that makes Skeletor who he is.
I so agree with that. Like with them tying the Havoc staff to the ancient gods, like completely now, right?
Yeah.
Doing that, and we've all seen what happens when those ancient god powers are bestowed upon somebody. Again, kind of like with how they turned Green Goddess into again that very snake-like appearance with this. It's a great new take on existing lore, and I really appreciate it. I think it just adds more depth to the whole thing. And we had all
Yeah.
talked previously on the other episode about how some people don't buy into the whole like acid thrown in Keldor's face kind of thing, which I thought
Mhm.
was really cool and really gruesome for a 2002 cartoon, 2003 cartoon.
Yeah.
But just for me, this overall, I'd mentioned in the trailer, this was one of my favorite like parts of the trailer was starting to see this happen.
Oh,
And
me too. It's
oh man, it just
beautiful.
paid off so much better seeing it through the series and how it was implemented. It really, really tipped the scales for me on like, all right, this Keldor backstory is so much better.
We
I
lost
was just
Yuka,
about to
but
ask. Yeah, I was going to ask him like what his take, because I'm sure he's got
yeah,
a good
Yep.
opinion on it.
it looks to me like he's trying to get back into. There we go. Got
There we go.
Yuka here.
We're gonna highlight them. Since I'm in shadow for the most part anyway, I don't mind being at the bottom.
Yuko, you're back. We were going to ask you what your take was on the transformation sequence.
It was a cool way, in my case, to sort of subvert the expectations.
Yes.
I didn't know all the details. I had gotten some info beforehand, and I was mostly glad, which I mentioned at one point earlier, that there is no demon merging like shenanigans. But yeah, it's the Havoc staff that. So we don't fully know what Hordak's plan is. I mean, he always needs some person dealing with magic, so he somehow has gotten the Havoc staff and then basically attaches Keldor to it, and so gets his own Horde acolyte through that, and a magic user, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, most fans think of the acid burning from 2002, and but here it's a really gruesome scene. But
I love it. Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely the scalded eyeball. And I mentioned this before in a previous Toy Frenzy episode, but it really this scene reminded me of Stripe from Gremlins popping out of the fountain at the end of Gremlins. And I love this stuff. This is very Sam Raimi. This is very like 80s gore, and I love this so much, and it's so quick.
Yeah, and it's such a mislead too, because this is one of the things they showed us like a week before, and like,
Yes.
oh, this is the acid throwing scene, but no, it's
Right,
not.
that's what we all labeled it as, and nope, not at all. And I did want to highlight and bring out the point here too, as Chef Mini puts it. It was the Havoc that changed him in the CGI version as well. It's another one of those kind of tie-ins with the CGI show, which is great. And I think, honestly, this is almost going to like sum up a whole conversation here. If we get 5 to 10 episodes in this series every year, it would fulfill my MOTU needs, and I wouldn't really care about getting a live action movie. I agree.
Yeah.
If we could keep getting a good continuous series kind of like this and in short episode formats, who gives a damn about live action?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, well, I was going to say that this is a movie. This season
Yeah.
is movie length. It's 2.5 hours long, about maybe a little bit longer. And it felt like a movie. It plays out like a movie. I think that if the people making the movies were to look at this season as a template, they would do a pretty good job. But yeah, I just want to see this. I definitely want to see this continue. And
Yeah,
we'll talk about that. I'm going to remove the slides now, and we're going to get into the talking about the rest of Revolution. So we can dig into the end sequences a little bit. I also want to give a shout out to I can never remember the name of the actor who played Granomir, but Granomir
John
was
DeLance.
John DeLance.
John Delancey.
John Delancey was I liked him in Star Trek, but he made Granomir like one of the shining aspects of Revolution. Like Granomir was amazing.
That Q attitude in dragon form was on point.
Yes, so
yeah,
true.
He did great. Yeah, he's really good at being contemptuous of lower beings. That's his role.
And what a perfect casting too, because that's, and really of all the characters, I feel like they all carry along traits from Filmation a little bit, but Granomir in this iteration really gave me everything I wanted to see from a contemporary Granomir. Really awesome. And then the Green Goddess version of Tila was spectacular as well. I really liked seeing that. I liked the way they changed that storyline in order to work and to give us Green Goddess, which was very smart as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed everything Tila went through, like her whole journey. Obviously that's a retcon to make her the Green Goddess. I didn't mind that at all. I liked her transformation with the Havoc power too. I was like, are they going to just give her a skull face? How are they going to handle that?
Yeah, that was something all new. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, Adam and Yuka, maybe you guys can help me with this. I saw something familiar when Tila transforms into all three entities, and she's going through that transformation sequence, and she's briefly in that sort of almost havoc outfit that's a little bit evil looking. Is the body armor? I don't have an image of it here, but is the body armor the faceless one?
I don't recall. The only thing I can remember is the face, like the dark eyes.
It's a nod to the faceless one.
Yeah, those ribs, the bony rib thing, which I thought that was cool.
I'm trying to bring up an image.
It is because they already had in season 1 the headless body or the armor, which was a nod to Faceless One from 2002. But I mean, it's not Faceless One in that scene from Revelation. It's one of the priests of Havoc.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not sure if this info has been brought up anywhere, but it's one of those like kind of like Kuduk Ungol in this version is one of the priests for the Zoar god. They had or have a sort of Faceless One idea there, which would be for Havoc. I hope they will give us more information about it in the comic or maybe some other medium at some point.
Yeah, me too.
But it was definitely a nod to that, and then the whole Krita red hair from New Avengers.
Yes, that's true too. I feel like they really took advantage of that opportunity to throw in a bunch of references, just like they did at the beginning with when we're in Subternia at Scareglow's, throne room, I guess. All those little icons behind him.
Reliquary.
Yeah, exactly. The reliquary.
While we have probably two of the best people to talk about that discussion on screen with us here, how many of those can you guys actually point out? Because I was trying to figure them, but I can't get a high enough
put you guys on the
image
spot
to define. I'm sorry, I've got to do it. I don't know how many times I'm going to have this opportunity. I want the knowledge.
Me too. I'm with you, Oz.
There was some Facebook. Some people had some pretty good screenshots of that, right? Like there was. You identified Yuka like there was somebody thought it was the Horn of Evil, but it was some other filmation artifact, and I didn't recognize the actual scene. You remember which one that came from?
It's the goblet from the Malcolm episode.
Right. Yes. Yeah, like our original shots that we have were very unclear, but you can kind of see, and I think there's a Shakoti bust too.
The golden one, but I mean that's like the most only clear visual close up there. There are 3 cabinets or walls, whatever you want to call them, and my research is currently in progress, so I bring them up at a video later on. But I will admit, even for me, some are very difficult to see because they are just blurred background images while the focus is on him and as below fighting. But I mean, and behind the 3, like there's just tons and tons that are alluded to, but you never get a good shot of those. But 6 on right side, the left side, and then 9 in the middle. So that's what
there's
21.
There's the one.
So that's what I'm operating currently.
And then there's I know there's like a clock like on a column, which to me, I don't know if it's this, but it reminds me of that Golden Book cover, Time Trouble.
Golden Book.
But I
think
yeah.
We were trying to remember
Clock
what that
of
was.
Eternity, whatever it was called. Yeah. And then Diamond Ray of Disappearance, which everyone basically got.
Yep.
But there's a lot, and it'll take some time to actually go through it all. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, a good show like this should be like this. It should be the gift that keeps on giving. Like we keep coming back to it, noticing things in the background, and I love that. So just a real quick.
I think
also,
everyone noticed the Granimir's helmet in his lair.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. And then he puts it on, and at the end, it's so good.
That scene where he just slaps down that old.
That's a different one, I think.
Is it a
it's
different one?
different- It was definitely a different, because like the classic helmet from the mini comic and from the Filmation episode is in the layer, but yeah, he has like a different, more I don't know, badass looking helmet in a lot of ways. In that end fight scene, and that pimp smack scene at the end where he just comes in and slaps down that artifact, I was like,
so good.
Techno Titans.
That's right. Yeah. And we got a Monsteroid showing up there too, which is cool.
The actual Monstroid, the toy.
Again, something else that we had discussed, where this kind of like looking like Monstroid, and then boom, we totally got the fan service of Monstroid being in there.
Yeah.
I was almost hoping one of them that would have popped out may have looked like Spidor, but you know, we got time to have that come in later in another season.
Or Mantisaur too. Would have been cool.
Mantisaur.
The last one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But it works best with Monstroid because the Star comic actually has him an ancient thing coming from the depths. So in Monstroid's case, it works rather than if you would have like the steed of Mantisaur there.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. That makes sense. Adam, what were you going to say there?
Oh, this is my brain is jumping around. But I also, one of the things I really liked was Lynn at the end joining the Cosmic Enforcers, and just finally, I was wondering, like, is Zodak ever going to show up in this deal? So
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. And I really hope that if we get another season, there's more of the Cosmic Enforcers playing a role.
I hope so. And I would love to see Lynn in full Cosmic Enforcer gear. And I just wanted an aside, and I don't remember who made the comment in the chat, but Evil Lynn's journey over Revelation and Revolution is solid. I mean, I'm actually really happy with her growth as a character. I've always been a huge fan of Evil Lynn. I've always thought that she had her shit together more than anybody else, even though she was not a nice person. I feel like this really paid tribute to her character in substantial ways. And that last line that Granomir says to her about her, "You're good, Lynn," that was just, I got teary-eyed. I have to admit, like that was awesome to me. And what a good way to make that happen, or to bring that through, bring your character through. That was very cool. So let's see, the last thing that I feel like we should probably address. I know we only have Adam for 2 hours, and I feel like 2 hours is a good amount of time for us in this discussion. There's a lot to cover, but I'm really glad that we're talking about it. But I do want to talk about the last sequence, seeing Despara show up. And now I just want to get your guys' theories. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Revolution did Lynn right. Is this idea that I'm on the edge with this, because a lot of fans, and I'm not an expert, a lot of fans keep saying that we can't create another rendition of She-Ra because of Filmation rights or whatever. But Netflix already did a She-Ra show. There's rumors that there might be a She-Ra live action show.
DreamWorks.
Oh, DreamWorks did it. Okay, so
now they are partnered / co-owned with Netflix, but DreamWorks, which is owned by Universal, did the She-Ra show.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, quick thing, really quick. Yeah, bro, man, watch out. We're spoiling this thing. I would hold off. I would turn this off right now. We'd hate to see you go, bro, man, but we don't want you to we're going to talk about an aspect here that could be leading us to the next season. So, so what do you guys think? Do you think this is a real thing? Can we actually see She-Ra in a season 3 of this if they do it?
Well, maybe not so much versions of She-Ra that we've seen previously, right? Because there's certain elements they can use to get around certain copyright things, like technically having Despara is having the She-Ra character, and again, just because we know from the knowledge of comics that Despara is Adora, is She-Ra, you can have Despara and have She-Ra through that without actually having to pay any kind of royalty to anybody, because that's not tied into those original rights that have crossed over.
What do you think, Yuka, about that? I know you were fielding a question about this online recently.
Oh, whenever I try and give information and links to people online recently, I'm just met with them like, oh, because I think something, then it has to be something else. And but okay, so to preface any of it, She-Ra legal things are a mess, and there are different facets to all of it. There's probably toy rights, then printed media like comic rights, and then like animation things. And no fan in my mind currently has any inkling what is the actual deal. And anytime there's been an interview with creators, like go check out Dead at Arms podcast. He has some really great interviews with the actual official people. They don't also have necessarily the answer to it. It could be just something that they don't personally know it, and some parts that they can't say if things are being negotiated or whatever. The consensus usually online seems to be that there's the toy rights and then the cartoon filmation design or likeness rights. So if Mattel wants to make a filmation clawful, they need to have some deal with DreamWorks, or I'm gonna say Universal. But I mean, they have their own clawful one that looks like the vintage toy. They can use that, and which is what we see in Revelation. So they don't they can do it based on the toy that they already have produced, and like Orko, they made a toy even though it's a Filmation creation and all that. So there's precedence on some of that things so that they can use Orko that looks basically like Orko, but again, they're doing their own version, and story-wise they're giving him new looks, which are something that they can more easily probably copyright, trademark, all that jibber jabber. So She-Ra thing is like the DC Comics, for example, they did use a mostly classic looking designs and Filmation characters, like I forget what was the name when they were like fighting in the Temple of the Sun sequence. One of the there's Catra, Scorpia, and like so, but they had at the time a deal with I think it was past Classic Media, so it would be at DreamWorks at that point. And then all the publications that have been done, so there needs to be the copyright or some agreement with Universal DreamWorks that they can use images from basically the Filmation cartoon. And it's like really pernickety stuff, because I mean He-Man looks like He-Man in Revelation, but he has like red squares on the harness and some details on the so it's not Filmation design.
Yeah.
And so but in Revolution they have clearly said that they don't have She-Ra media rights currently. That's like no secret at this point. DreamWorks is they have it, and who knows what the negotiations are. DreamWorks wants to do the live action She-Ra show. Maybe they feel like that they want to focus on that and not have something at the same time. Who knows? It's one of those things like the Bat embargo with the animated stuff and the Justice League and Limited Teen Titans back in 2000s, that you would confuse audience if you have like Robin on Teen Titans at the same time that he would be on Justice League show. Like those are really weird things.
Yeah.
But in Revolution, there is no She-Ra, no character named She-Ra, no character that looks like the classic traditional She-Ra. So that thing, like, it's very clear. They show a glimpse of a character that is Despara, which is basically 2012 created character for a comic by Mattel. Rob David invented the character. Gabriel De La Torre designed her. So they can use her, but you can clearly see that it's sort of, they don't show her actual face.
Yeah.
Could be,
you just hear her voice.
Could be how it looks in the comic, or it could be something completely different, because the animated version takes something that we have had previously, but it's in a completely new context. So I hope enough people watch Revolution so that Netflix will get whatever statistics or they are hoping to get, and will green light people working on it. They know where they are going as a trilogy. So they know where She-Ra is. They know what Zodak's been doing, and they do have their answers. This has been said in interviews. That's no secret. But it's like by the time they would get greenlit a season 3, I hope that they can also make a deal of some sort with Universal to fully embrace all of it, because again, going on the legal things, they are just a big mess. Nobody knows anything about it. But I think the classic theme songs, they are basically behind Universal, or however that works. So hopefully, if they could get the animated look rights for She-Ra, that they would also get the just music thing as well. But I mean, I think music royalties and licensing is a different section again on its own, from toys to comics to cartoons to anything, because I mean, for is really good nostalgia kick, please get the Filmation He-Man song and She-Ra, and I mean that would just blow it all up like so much.
Oh, that's so true. The music is really such a huge aspect of my nostalgia for this property. So I hope that happens. Well, I just got to say, it sounds to me like maybe we're all on the same page that this version of the show, or this season, Revolution, was successful. There are minor little, I have a couple little minor gripes, but I think it was pretty darn good. And I'm hoping, Jukka, as you say, like, I'm hoping those discussions are in place, and that something happens to bring She-Ra in. But I think the big takeaway for me, at least, is folks, if you're watching this and you haven't watched Revolution yet, go watch it. Tell your friends to watch Revolution.
Whoa.
Spread the word.
Even if you've watched Revolution, go watch it again.
I've
and
already
again,
watched it twice.
and
I've already
again.
watched it twice. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So
Yeah.
keep watching it. Let's pump those numbers.
Just have it on the background.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Have it on your background, just rolling
Keep it
through.
playing, guys. Let's do this because we know that one of the key factors is they need the watches to keep it going, right? Also, keep hashtagging things too. Hashtag Masters Universe Revolution, right?
Yeah.
I know we've seen a lot over the last couple of weeks. Geek the F Out has been doing several revelations building up to Revolution. They're doing several more streams about the episodes. Mega J has also been doing a lot of different streams about the individual episodes and stuff. The more we are continuing to have, oh yes, Sean,
Good, Sean.
glad you could make it in, even if it's only in the chat, brother. But yes, the more we keep having these conversations, the more we keep talking about, the more we keep the excitement about it. That is how we are going to keep getting more Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
And that is something I think we could all agree we would like.
Yeah. Well, I know that we're coming up on the end here, so I want to give us all a moment to sort of talk about what's coming up for us. And Jukka, and I also want to take this time and to say huge thank you to Jukka for joining us today. Really excited to have you here with us. But so guys, what's on the agenda for you all coming up?
Well, Yuka, are you working on Easter eggs video? It sounds like maybe you are. Is that right?
There's a couple videos about the Revolution stuff, and also gonna go back on some other topics I've been toying around. One of them is Evelyn's different disguises, which will be a fun topic.
Yeah, great.
I just did an article on Fright Fighter, so that'll be out available to everybody next week. And then I'm probably going to do Blaster Hawk next because they seem to go together. They were featured
coming out around
frequently
the same
together. Yeah.
That's
Skelly,
cool.
when
I can't
can
wait.
when can we see some more build videos?
All right, so I'm doing pretty good at like launching a video every weekend lately. So I think I'm going out and doing a little work this weekend. So there should be something on Sunday evening for the next part of the Snake Mountain build. I just I can't say it enough. Like, folks, go watch Revolution again and again. It's so good. And do tune in for the Snake Mountain build videos too. But more importantly, or not more importantly, but equally as important, we do have a Eternia Land contest going on, folks. So if you missed our last episode of Toy Frenzy, which is a little over a week ago, we talked about this. Where if you can draw a version of Eternia that matches sort of the floor plan or map of Disneyland. So imagining Eternia as an amusement park, you don't have to be a good artist. You don't have to be skilled at. You don't have to be a cartographer. Is that what it is? A cartographer or map maker?
Yep.
Just draw what you think Eternia Land would look like, and email that to me. I'll type my email in here, and then we'll by the 22nd of February. And Chef Matey, Chef M80, you don't have to have art skills. Just sketch it out. It doesn't have to be good. There's no what is good, anyways, right? As we know, like something's good one moment, and it's exactly right. So we're not judging quality of art here. We're actually looking at ideas. So we have some more posters that are donated by David, MOTU Origins Cork, that we're excited to share with the winner of the Eternia Land contest. I'm typing and talking at the same time, which is difficult for me. Send your submissions to skelavade@gmail.com, and you have until February 22nd to submit your ideas of what Eternia Land would be. And so, yeah, there's that. And yeah, keep an eye out for the Snake Mountain build videos, and keep watching Revolution, folks. Oz, how about you? What's on your agenda?
Well, as you guys know, I'm usually busy streaming like 300 times through the weekend, or even in like this past week, I've done a show just about every night. And you know, it's just the way of it. I'll be doing another stream later this evening. And a couple of people have requested that we do more of exactly what we're doing right here. So, yeah, if you guys want to roll into the clubhouse later this evening, we will definitely be having a lot of spoiler talk again. Oh, and actually, right here, big shout out to Dad at Arms popping in, catching the show. Good to have you here, brother. Thank you.
I love your channel, Dad at Arms. Great stuff. Great stuff. Happy to have you here.
Some of the best interviews you can see.
He's okay.
Amongst...
He's okay.
Just all right.
Yeah.
So certainly, guys, if you want to talk more about Revolution, feel free to join us tonight at the clubhouse. And other big things that I got coming up right now.